Hello and welcome to FrontRowRacing's World Series. It's round 3. It's China, take 4 after last week, and we've got something quickly to say. Go on, I'll let you say it.
Evening, Dom.
All right, Dom, how are you doing? Got nothing better to do on a Thursday night? Obviously not, no. Okay, so we got myself, Dave Lazinbeds, joined once again in the commentary booth by Steve Sherberts. Evening. And if anyone watched the Fridays event from last week, you wouldn't have actually heard from Edam Hill, but he was there. Okay, so China, round 3, the World Series. We're going to do the broadcast similar to how we did it last week, where I'm going to view it from in the pit lane. Now, we've got a fairly full grid today. Unfortunately, FrontRowRacing NW has not been able to make the race today. His PlayStation's played up with him. He can't get online. But because he's only been able to let us know today, it means he's not able to get a reserve driver in. The drivers do need to let us know beforehand. And Ardington, who we don't know what's happened to him. Now, if we listen quietly, we can hear the sound of rain. And if we look at the race director type thing here and at the weather, see, Dom will be telling Tony now, it's gonna rain, don't go out, yeah, put extra arrows on. Yeah, it looks like we could be in for some wet weather action here. Okay, so on the grid we've got Conzo 1993. Richie Davey hasn't scored a point yet in the championship, which is a massive surprise. Adam 4600, the Artful Dodger. Azamor, the leading Ferrari driver. That'll go down well. My Bad 66, done well so far. Charlie, tricky race for him last time out. Rickster, he should be on for potentially a win here. He's still my pick for the Chinese Grand Prix here. Eraser, Jason, Farfboer could get pole position quick in the race, and WTJ Bullock. Okay, let's go and have a look at who is on track. Connor is, but he's not setting sector times yet. Richie Davies on the back straight. I think Adam 4600 may have just come out of the pits. Not sure. He's got a car ahead of him. Yes, he has. He's not set a sector time yet. Azamort.
I'll tell you something interesting. Paul's not out yet, and if it is raining, it's only going to get wetter. Paul is still sat in the garage.
I mean, if some of the drivers are hoping, we've got a bit of action going on ahead up here, see if we can get on board with them. It's someone letting Azamort through. Yeah, I mean, if anyone is still sat in the pits now, apart from me and you, the track is potentially only going to get wetter and wetter and wetter. The drivers who are out there now could find a bigger benefit than those drivers who get out a little bit later. Now, it looks like Azamort, no, Richie Davey is the first to set Sector 1 time, so let's ride on board with him. Reigning World Series champion who hasn't scored a point in the World Series. I mean, what do you make of that?
It's very difficult. So obviously, looking at what happened last week, he's got a good chance here today. I know he's not got many points. He hasn't got any points yet, but he can catch this up very easily.
He could, yeah, definitely. All he needs is a couple of good races, couple of wins, and the chances are there for him to come back. Okay, while we look at the timing screen, Richie currently does have the fastest Sector 1 time. Oh no, Rickster 81295 has just gone 3/10 faster in Sector 1. I think we may have to leave Richie here and go and ride on board with Rickster, although we'll let him get to the end of the lap. We can definitely see on the screen though,
getting slippy. It
is getting slippy. The rain is on the screen, so these lap times now could be the best times that get set. So what's Richie going to post? So 137.5. Let's go and find Rickster. Azamot's going wide. Come on, Rickster, where are you? Here he is.
He's 137.5. That's at the moment about a second off a good time round here.
It is, yeah.
But that could be down to this slightly damp surface. So it'd be very interesting to see what Rickster can put together here.
Now, Rickster has got the fastest Sector 1 time, but he's a tenth slower in Sector 2. Azamort actually has the fastest Sector 2 time at the moment, but he's 5/10 off in Sector 1.
Rickster's not a tenth off, he's a thousandth off.
Oh yeah, he is. Oh, he's a thousandth off Richie, but he was closer to Azamor. Anyway, so Rickster coming to cross the line. I think this will be pole. No, it's second place by 2/10. It must be very, very wet now in that final section. We can see on the screen just how wet it's getting. Azamor currently sat in third place. Connor has just popped into second, and Paul is still sat in the pits. So is Jason. I'm wondering if those two are waiting to see if it's actually going to dry up a little bit.
I've got a feeling it's not going to get any drier than it is now.
I don't think it is either. I also think there's a potential for it being a wet start to the race as well.
Could it be that Paul doesn't want a repeat of last week's start and he's just keeping out of the way?
It's possible, but what he has done before is he's decided to go out late when the track is at its best. The problem is the track isn't going to be at its best unless it's only a sprinkling we've got here, and unless it's only a sprinkling we've got here and it is going to dry up, but I can't see that happening. Okay, how's My Bad getting on? He's currently sat in 6th place. And it looks like he's backed out of this. He definitely has. Okay, WTJ Bullock, he's definitely backed out of his lap. Charlie, we've not ridden on board with him yet. Currently sat in 8th place. Only done the one-time lap, and he's going to struggle to get any kind of time in now. With how wet this is getting, it's just going to get slower and slower and slower. So there's a good chance here that, you know, if Paul doesn't get out of the pits and go and set a time, he's going to be starting from the back, and Richie is going to be starting from the front. Okay, Paul's just left the pits. Is he going to be on options? Because I'm not so sure whether options are going to be the best tyre at the moment. Now, Charlie's definitely struggling a bit for grip here. He's gone well wide, and that's simply because the track is so slippy. We've still got a bit of a dry line, but obviously it's only a bit drier than everywhere else. It's definitely raining.
Bring me tablet back.
It's definitely raining quite a lot. Okay, while my co-commentator argues with his stand-in pit crew, just to let people know that we have got Ray in the pit lane again. Now, the track is definitely getting wetter and wetter. I'm looking at a statistic here that is saying it's probably not time for the intermediates yet, but the track is getting wetter and wetter. Okay, on board with Paul on the option tyres. Is he going to be able to do anything regarding the sector times? I don't think he is. We're looking for, I think it was a 27.5 or 27.6 sector 1.
A 26.9.
A 26.9 sector 1 to beat, and I don't think he's going to get anywhere close. I think we're going to be looking somewhere in the 28s, maybe 29s, just because the grip is not there. Now, what he may have done is he may have gone with a higher aerodynamic setup, which could help him here. But what's his sector time? So 27.5. That's not too bad.
Not too bad.
But to be fair, it's in the final sector where people have been really losing out. This second sector is quite tricky, especially in these conditions, but if you can get the car slowed down at this point, you can keep it turned in, and it's from here on in it's going to get a lot more tricky as he's ran wide. He's had to back out of that one because he knew he'd taken too much corner, and that's what he's doing now. He's showing that he knows he's made a mistake.
That's him shaking his head, that is.
It could well be, yeah. But it's here where people are struggling with the car just wanting to drift out wide. He's definitely not got a fast lap here. Is anybody at the moment setting fastest sector times? No, they're not, which isn't surprising. Okay. We'll watch Paul as he completes his lap as we have a quick recap of the championship standings. Paul here is actually leading the World Series points on 43, followed by Rickster, who's on 37. Then we've got Connor on 30, joined by Eraser and Dom on 30. Azza on 14, Jason on 12, Ardington on 10, but he's not in the race this evening. Adam 4600's got 6, Nightwalker's got 4, but again he's not racing this evening, and Paul's struggling for grip on turn 1. He's not going to go faster on this lap either. I think it's just getting wetter and wetter. And then after Nightwalker we've got WTJ Bullock on 1 point. Then we've got Richie, Charlie, Righty stroke Killer Corkin on 0, as well as My Bad on 0. Now, Jim did score points in his first race, but he was in as a reserve, so he doesn't score points for himself. He scored points for Williams. Now that he is in as a permanent driver, he will score points for himself. Okay, let's go and see who else we've got on track. Richie's back out on the option tyre, which I find kind of surprising, unless they're thinking that maybe the track's going to dry up a bit, but I just can't see it happening.
It doesn't look like it's going to get any drier anytime soon. The sky is still the same colour as it was at the start of the session.
I do not believe that they are going to gain any more time. No, the track is just getting wetter and wetter. And to be honest, I don't think we're far off actually the drivers needing to put intermediate tyres on for these track conditions. The problem is, if they put the intermediate tyres on, they're not going to get anywhere close to the lap times already set.
They won't. They'll be about 5 or 6 seconds off the time.
Yeah. Now Richie's going to continue on here for another flying lap, so while he does, and you can watch him go off at turn 1, just mention the constructors. Now Williams leading the championship on 49 points. Oh, he's not gone off. Toro Rosso in second place on 42 points. McLaren in third place on 37. Red Bull in 4th on 30 points, Lotus in 5th on 24 points, Ferrari in 6th on 14 points, and Sauber in 7th on 5 points. Now, someone we haven't ridden on board with yet, which I am going to go and do, because we've just seen Richie's posted a 27.8 in Sector 1, which is a long way off the pace. That's the person I was actually about to want to go and ride on board with. Another driver that had not left the pitch yet is Jason. Now, he's gone on the option tyres, and he again has left it too late to try and get a fast time in, but he may still be able to gain a few places. I mean, I would guess the track at the moment is about 3 to 4 seconds off its best time, so 140s may be possible on the option tyre. If he can get a 140, he'll put himself about 6th, 7th place, but it's just getting wetter and wetter and wetter. Okay, now we've had a look at the standings, I can close that book and we can waffle on a little bit while we watch Jason go off at turn 1.
He's going for it.
Oh no, he's kept it on. Well done, that man. Obviously his holiday up in the mountains has got him used to this kind of weather. It doesn't bother him anymore. Okay, so the Shanghai International Circuit. First Grand Prix here was in 2004. And the number of laps for this Grand Prix, I believe it's about 28, isn't it?
That's a Charmaine, isn't it? A 28.
It could be. It depends on which one you'd order from. Sometimes it's on that'd be in the chef specials,
yeah,
which is quite early on. Yeah, I think it's about 28 laps. Circuit length 5.4 kilometres, and Michael Schumacher holds the lap record. I don't think we'll be breaking any lap records here with these current track conditions. Okay, Jason's Sector 1 time, 29.1.
That goes to show how slippery it is out there.
Yeah, his Sector 2 times a 31.8 is only a little bit slower than what Paul's doing at the moment. Paul and Jason have really made the wrong decision here coming out of the pits at this point. I mean, what have you got any thoughts of what they may have been thinking?
No idea, because from personal experiences, if you've got a qualifying session that's damp, you go out straight away as soon as you can to put in a banker lap in case it gets wet.
Yeah.
And then you hope it gets drier and you can go faster.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed.
The only thing I can think of is they didn't notice it was wet. Or it was or damp.
That is quite possible.
And they were just hoping for the better surface at the end of the session.
Yeah. Now Jason's going to cross the line here. What position is he going to move into? He's still in 10th place. Now, a couple of things I will show you here, just as I exit out of this screen. On my view here, you will see that we have got quite a bit of water dropping from the pit lane. So on this view, you can tell that it's definitely wet. It's definitely raining. Okay, let's get back in. We've currently only got the 3 cars on track, one of which is about to cross the start-finish line, so let's go and find out who that is. It's Paul. He's now on the prime tyre. I wonder if he is now just thinking, right, okay, let's just try a bit of prime running, see what it's like in these conditions.
Or is he hoping that he can beat his previous time on the prime? Because you know he backed out of his lap because he made a mistake. So is he hoping he can beat that time on the primes, because he knows he's not going to be starting any higher than, say, 9th, 10th, well, 8th, 9th or 10th. So he's better off starting at the back with the primes.
That is true. Now, if it does rain in the race, the drivers are not going to need to use both sets of compounds of tyre. Now, the white mark tyre is the prime, I think it's the yellow is the option. But if it does rain and the drivers use a wet compound tyre, then they do not need to use both sets of tyres. So if we do have a wet start to the race, it could make it very interesting about what people do with strategy throughout the Grand Prix.
His Sector 1 is already 2 seconds off his previous Sector 1.
Yeah, I've got a feeling that Paul here is just having a look at how these tyres handle in these conditions, because there's no way that you would think that these tyres would potentially help you go any quicker.
Just a quick question, any idea what... Oh, it's gone. Wayne had a red dot on his...
I think the red dot means in-lap.
In-lap.
I could be wrong. I think it means in-lap.
Might be coming in the pits.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's got a box of tissues, if he is. Excuse that comment. I can't promise that tonight's commentary will be perfectly clean. We will do no swearing, but we will try and make it enjoyable. Okay, I've got a feeling we're going to see Paul jump into the pits. Yes, we are. Okay, so we'll have a quick look at the timing screen.
You could have waited to see if he took the pit entry correctly.
I could have done, but I thought I'd give him the benefit of the doubt. Okay, so at the moment with 2 minutes left and not really any chance of anybody improving, I tell you what, how much do you reckon it would annoy him if I went out on track and posted a faster time? I won't do it. On a pad, on the options, no. Dom, don't you dare say anything. Right, okay, so yeah, the current standings, which I can't see changing, is Richie Davey on pole position, Connor in second place, Rickster in third. I thought that he would go and get pole, and to be honest, he was on for it until that final sector. He lost 5/10 in that final sector, and that was just as the rain came down. He's actually going out onto track as well. He hasn't got enough time to get a lap in though. A Razor in fourth place. He will be very pleased that Paul is right down the field, as will Richie Davey. Azamore in fifth place. He should be very happy. He's got the best Sector 2 time at the moment. My bad, I think he'll be fairly happy with where he's currently placed. Now, it'll be very interesting to see how Jim gets on here, because of all of the drivers in this league, he's the only one that will not have ever done a league race in the wet.
That's true.
So it'll be interesting to see how he gets on, and actually as to whether he realises or remembers in the heat of the moment that he won't need to use both sets of tyres if it is a wet start to the race. WTJ Bullock, he'll be pleased with 7th place because he can turn around and say, I'm quicker than Paul. Charlie, I think, will be very disappointed with his position. But for Charlie, Paul and Jason, it was all about when they went out on track.
All three of them left it too late. But out of those three, you've got to say Paul. He's the guy that should be setting pole times and winning races.
Yeah.
And he's slipped up on a massive banana there.
He definitely has. I mean, the only thing we can say for Paul is if he can get a clean start, if he's got the speed to get himself up near the podium places. Okay, so this qualifying session is about to come to an end now. The checkered flag is flying, and as you can see, the rain has definitely been falling quite heavily there. So the lap times aren't going to be as quick as the drivers would have expected, but an interesting, tricky session for the drivers there. The question now is,
what's it going to be like in the race?
Yeah, and the other question is, what have we got on the race director?
Oh, quick, let's have a look.
Only three. Adam 4600 going the wrong way. He got disqualified. Now, that's something we didn't notice. He'd have been lower than us. I wonder if he's had a spin somewhere, and in attempting to get going in the right direction, it's disqualified him. Charlie has an exceeding track limits warning and a corner cutting warning. But again, I mean, that could be down to the conditions.
Might be why he's got a slow lap time, because he may well have backed out of his lap.
That is quite possible. That is very possible. Okay, now we gear ourselves up for the Grand Prix. World Series Round 3, China. Is it dry? Is it wet? Place your bets.
1, 2, 3, place your bets.
Bet in play. I'm going wet.
Dry.
Wet.
In between.
It's damp.
Yeah, moist.
It's mildly moist. Now, I wonder how... Oh, I was going to say, I wonder how long... if we sit on the grid, it'll take for us to get through. Anyway, we'll have a quick look at the grid.
I'll shut up and let you talk.
Yeah, here's the grid order. It goes too quick for me to go through them all. Eraser, Rickster, Konzo and Richie Davey on pole position.
We will have a driver behind us.
Yeah, we are going to have to move out of the way. And because of what happened in the World Championship race last night, myself and my co-commentator, we are going to wait a moment before we retire to make sure the rest of the field, the cars are up the grid a little bit before we retire. And we have got a car behind us that we're going to need to make sure gets ahead. Okay, 15 seconds. Do you want to call a winner?
No.
Don't blame you. Don't blame you, because with these weather conditions,
it's intermediates.
Yeah, I was about to say there's only one choice the drivers can go for, and that is intermediates, and see how they get on. Okay, we get ready for the lights. 1 lights, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights, and it's go in China. We'll get out of the way. And Adam is passed, so let's get retired and get viewing the front if we can. Oh, it's very busy. I've just seen my bad and another car crash, and a Razor's been collected as well. I think he also got hit up the... Too pleased with himself on that one, but I'm fairly sure Paul has worked him.
Paul's to 5th.
I was going to say Paul's got himself quite far up the grid. It wouldn't let me go on ride on board with him.
Is that Charlie's just dropped down to 6th and 7th place?
Paul's going for a move up into 2nd place. Now, I said that he could have some speed. Now, this is what can happen if he's on the right tyre. We've got a Ferrari spinning off in the background as well. A few drivers struggling with these conditions, but Paul definitely isn't.
Because there's Rich Davey.
No, it's Azamor that's in the other Ferrari. Or Richie had a bit of a wiggle there.
I'm getting them two mixed up.
You are, yeah. Eraser is Tony and Azamor is Aaron.
Correct.
Yeah, or otherwise known as Azza. But Paul's showing what speed he's actually got from the back of the grid, pretty much.
Has he got his car set for a wet setup?
Quite possibly. Now let's have a quick look through the grid. So Paul's in 2nd, Rickster is in 3rd. He's kept his position, but I think we've got a bit of a battle going on slightly further down. I think Paul's going to be going for the lead any moment as well. So we've got Richie Davey, Paul, Rickster, Eraser, Charlie, and then a Sauber. Paul's going for a move up the inside, but we're not riding on board with either one of those two at the moment. He's got the move done, perhaps pushed Richie a little wide, but...
That's pretty much from the back to the front in
one lap. Who do you think you are, Ayrton Senna? He can't be. Richie won't be overly pleased about it, but he's got a right challenge on now. Oh, big wiggle from a Red Bull in the background. Oh, Richie's going for a move up into turn 1. He ducks back in behind him. That was close. And it looks like we've got Toro Rosso on Toro Rosso action a little further down the grid. Eraser's got ahead of Jason. We've got Azamort in 9th place. I think Jim. Where's Jim? Because we saw him spinning early on. I think Jim may have got damage. Perhaps not. He's just struggling, maybe struggling in these conditions. He's got Adam 4600 ahead of him. Now, the best thing Jim can do at this moment in time is just try and forget that the start didn't go so well and take this as a bit of a learning curve and just learn what you can through this race.
As far as we know, this could be the first time that Jim has ever driven in the wet on this game.
It could possibly be the first time that he has done. Okay. Paul still leading, pulling out a gap now on Richie Davey. What a first lap it's been by him. You know what they'll be saying? It's not unequal, it's not unequal. But we can 100% confirm that it is unequal this week. But Richie Davey is going to be wondering how the hell Paul has got from where he has to where he is now. But this is the thing. For those drivers that perhaps didn't see that it was going to be wet, went out on a dry setup, got caught out a little bit in qualifying but were quick anyway, Paul may have sat back and actually gone, okay, let's put a wet setup on it, because if it is wet in the race, it'll benefit me. Now we look at how much Richie's slipping and sliding all over the place. Now it could just be too much throttle, or it could be the setup. Now Rickster is closing up, but we've got some action going on a little further down. Let's go and ride on board with WTJ Bullock, who's riding in 6th place with a Razor all over the back of him, and Aaron Mort closing up. So a Razor going for a move round the outside. How do you think this one's going to end?
Hopefully cleanly, but let's find out.
A Razor round the outside. Around the outside, around the outside. Now it'd be interesting because Wayne will probably be sat there thinking, how the bloody hell have you done that? And Azamor will be sat there thinking, I wonder if I can try that.
I'll tell you how he's done that. Dom's told him what to do.
Yeah, probably. Now, something that some of the drivers may know or perhaps may not know is when it is wet, what's the best thing you can do?
Not crash.
Well, other than that, the best thing you can do is work out whether there's more grip off the racing line. For example, you look at Azamor now, he's got loads of grip on the dirty part of the track, but that's because you think back to real F1, when it's raining, the dirty part of the track is the grippy part. Or is he going to get around the outside again? Wayne squeezed him, a little bit of contact, and now we've got Jason getting in on the action as well.
Sometimes taking the high line around some of the corners is definitely the more grippy line.
Definitely, it is. I mean, for one thing I would say to the guys is give it a try sometime when you're practicing in the wet. Try braking on the dirty part of the grid, not on the racing line. Okay, looks like Azamor is going for another move up the inside of WTJ this time. So it's a straight line drag race between Ferrari and Sauber. And it looks like that Sauber's got a fair bit of straight line speed, but the Ferrari's got him done into the hairpin. Nice move there by Azamor. Now Jason's going to be trying to think, where can he get past? Right. Do we still have Paul in the lead? Yes, we do. Richie in second, Richter in third. Connor, not really ridden on board with Connor. So let's go and do it, shall we? So let's go and try one of these cinematic camera views. Now we can see how the track is looking. It almost looks like it's perhaps starting to dry up a little bit on this particular view, but I don't think it's anywhere near ready for a dry kind of tyre.
Can't be ready yet.
But it does look like Connor is sort of closing up towards the back of Richter, who isn't that far behind Richie Davey, who isn't, I would guess, that far behind Paul. Well, let's have a look.
In qualifying, Rich Davey was one of the first to put a lap in. So if anyone didn't notice that it was going to be wet, Rich Davey might have been one of them. And then Richter was quite soon behind him.
Yep.
So they're the two that went out quite early. So they may have more of a dry setup. So they might struggle now, but if it gets dry towards the end of the race, they might soon quite well come back into it.
Definitely. Now while we're talking about mildly moist conditions, right, I've got to tell you a little story.
Oh, go on.
Right, something that I've seen on Facebook today. Now, I got a friend request off a woman I'd never heard of, never seen before.
I might have had this
you
one.
may have had the same one. But I want to tell you a little story about one of our friends who is racing in this race today, because there's been a bit of a chat going on between a few people on Facebook about this particular friend request off this random stranger. Now, on this chat that these people were having, one of them is telling everybody else, look, this is what she's saying to me. And then one person, and this is the perfect example of a boy's reaction, right? How boys think. This is the message between this person and this woman, or so-called woman. So-called woman. Our friend says, do I know you? And the woman says, me, I 24 years, you doing in life? So they say, you didn't answer my question. Okay. Bah, I think we will not know because I was friendly to research and I saw your profile. Reason for what I've added to get acquainted with you if that does not bother you. I mean, what the hell? So, okay, so this now is the epitome of the male sense of everything. Look, I have no idea who you are by your profile. It says you live in Canada, so there's no chance in hell we're ever going to meet. So my question is, am I going to see boobs or am I wasting my time? Now, I could tell you who it was that actually said that, but they know who they are. Surprisingly though, he hasn't had a response. Okay, or he has and he hasn't told us.
If he does get a response, let me know.
Yeah.
I might accept the friend request.
Okay, so back to what action we've got going on track then. Okay, Paul's still in first place.
I'll just say something about Paul.
Yeah, go ahead.
He went from pretty much last to first, but he's struggling now to pull away. Is that because the track's getting drier? And we've got messages coming in now about that story. Yeah. It'd be interesting to find out who is saying what. But do we have Ray with us?
I do believe Ray is with us in the pit lane. He's just being very, very quiet.
No messages on
No messages on that story yet.
Rescue Martins, PMSL.
Doesn't look like it's starting to get a little drier. Not much, but a little drier.
I mean, this is something that is very interesting. I mean, if Paul has gone for a wet setup, it would have benefited him at the start for those first few laps. Richie, big wiggle.
Has he lost his position?
He may do. Now, I would definitely say that Richie is on a low downforce setup, pretty much guaranteed on that one. So as the track perhaps does dry up a little bit, these guys who have got a drier setup could get quicker and quicker. Now, it'll be interesting to see what happens to Paul, or to find out afterwards whether he has gone for that higher aerodynamic setup. Because, I mean, one thing we haven't talked about, Paul's had a moment. Now, I don't know whether we'll get the notification, but obviously usually in the wet the DRS is deactivated. Although, when the track starts getting a little bit drier, the in-game stewards do allow the DRS to be used, and that is your signal. Oh, Richie's miles wide!
That's an interesting
Change the view. That was an interesting line. I was about to get talking about tyres, but I got on about DRS. If the drivers get told that DRS is now active, that is a surefire sign that it is getting drier, but I don't think it's actually drying up that much at the moment. But in turn, I was then going to say, how long are these intermediate tyres going to last?
It's a difficult call, because normally with your intermediates, the wetter it is, the longer they'll last.
Yep.
Obviously, the less mildly moist it is, the more they're going to go off. But just notice that we have seen some of the drivers taking some strange lines on the straights, and I'm wondering if they're actually trying to cool the tyres. So we saw Rich Daly going wide, not as wide as he did a moment ago, but
yeah.
a different line.
Using a different line, yeah.
And then
he's going up the inside. See, that's what we're on about using the dirty line, but he's had a big moment. Well, it is now.
Yes.
But yeah, he used the inside line there, which is off the racing line, to get a better exit. It's not letting us see where Rickster is. They're still side by side. Rich is trying to fight him into the left-right. Rickster's had to back out of it, but it could benefit him through the next part of the corner. I don't really want it to change view on me here, and we are really, I suppose we should go and see how everyone else is getting on track, but this is quite an interesting battle, because now Paul has gained. Oh, Richie again is massively sideways. It could be that he is definitely running low downforce and burning up his tyres.
To get right up on the back of these.
It is. Connor has got really into this action. How's Charlie getting on?
Not too far off behind the back of them, but is there or thereabouts?
Oh, Richie's had another big wiggle. Rickster going for Richie's just going for a defensive get out of my slipstream line. Rickster's going to get the benefit of the slipstream though.
Is he, or is he going for the wettest part of the circuit?
No, that's Richie's defensive line down the China Straight, trust me. He's gone
on the curve.
Big sideways. That's got Rickster sideways. Connor's going to be watching this just thinking, go on, crash. Oh, close, but no cigar. They keep going, and this is Connor's chance now. I mean, both of them have gone wide there, but Connor's shown how it should be done. Better exit. He's going to be going past Rickster.
They're expecting this.
Hopefully, yeah, he's seen him coming.
He's gone too wide. He's off the circuit.
I don't think he is off the circuit. He's just using the dirty line around the outside.
Around the outside.
Yeah, we'll let the viewers sing that song. Okay, Connor then, now up to third place. I think he may be running slightly higher aerodynamics as well, because he's just, as these guys have been struggling, has just brought himself into this action. No arguments, no fussers or anything like that. Okay, quick look down the grid. We've got Charlie with a Razor behind him. I was going to say I'm surprised that a Razor's ended up down there, but I'm fairly sure that it was a Razor that Jim may have had contact with early on. It did look like a Toro Rosso, so it was either a Razor or Jake. It can't have been Jason, because Jason was behind him, so it must have been a Razor that there was contact with early on.
It was getting drier, but looking at the different camera angles just recently, it doesn't look any drier at all.
It doesn't, does it?
It looks like it could be getting a little wetter. And is that why Paul's started to disappear off up the road?
I'm wondering if there was a little phase of a couple of laps where it perhaps eased off a little bit, because it did look like we were getting a bit of a dry line, but then it started to rain again. And the thing is with China's one of those circuits where if it rains, it does tend to rain a hell of a lot. Okay, we've got a move going on now. Oh, give me a decent view. There we go. So Connor trying to take second place from Richie. Richie's going to run it wide. Connor's going to try and duck up the inside. Connor's got much better grip out of the corners. Oh, but Richie's still holding second place. I don't think he's going to hold it. He is off the circuit. I think he's had to back off as well because Connor's just driven right round the outside of him. So Richie's going to tuck in for the slipstream, but he's not going to be able to do anything about that now. Okay, Eraser following Charlie, using the slipstream.
Soon. Pit stops have got to be coming soon.
Well,
these tyres can't last much longer, surely.
Well, I would think that at best they could go half distance. As daft as that may sound, they don't go through as much punishment as a slick tyre does.
But we're going through that slightly dry phase is going to cause more damage to them, so they're going to go off slightly.
The thing is as well, the drivers would need to think about whether they would be better off doing a two-stop strategy here, because a brand new set of intermediates now would be a hell of a lot faster than these intermediates are. There's always that problem of, though, you want to go that little bit longer, so that you're not making a stop and then having to stop again soon after to put dry tyres on.
I'll tell you what, let's try and find out through Dom what Tony's thinking at this point. Is Tony thinking it might be time for wets?
Charlie's had a wiggle.
Is it going to be time for wets soon, or is he going to try and hang it out until he can get dry tyres on?
That would be interesting to
comment on that.
Yeah,
that would be interesting to know, and then Rachel Brooks can get back in touch with us.
My things ran out. My e-cig battery's died. Could you grab my spare? I think it's over there. Please. Okay, so Eraser then all over the back of Charlie. Slipstream is going for it. Charlie's gone defensive, but I don't think there's much he can do about this move. He's already ahead. Thank you. Although Charlie's still there up the inside, side by side around the hairpin. He squoze Eraser out wide. They're going to be side by side into the final corner. Connor got up to second a few moments ago.
Oh, I wasn't watching.
We actually saw that move. Charlie's ran wide though. Is Eraser going to be able to do anything heading up to turn one? I don't think he is. We've got a Ferrari in the background, Azamor. I think we saw him having a big spin early on as well. It will be interesting after the race to see how he how his start of the race went. I've just heard Ray's microphone click on. What have you got for us in the pit lane?
Russell garage, and they're discussing a 1 or 2 stop with them now, and I think they're going for inters again. Rain stops in 15 as far as we're aware. Okay,
so sounds like the drivers are being told that Rain could be stopping in about 15 minutes time, and they are actually discussing what to do, whether to go 1 stop or 2 stop, and I think a lot of the drivers have to be thinking that. The thing is, if you're going to 1 stop, you need to go another 4 laps. If you're going to 2 stop, you need to be pitting now to get any kind of benefit from it.
You can tell how intense this race is because I'm actually listening into the drivers on my headset, and there's not one word being said.
They're all concentrating. Yes. Okay, so Jason currently in 8th place. He was close to the battling earlier on. He is now ahead of WTJ Bullock, who's down in 9th place. My Bad is up to 10th. Have we... No, Adam 4600. He's in the pit lane. He's the first to stop then.
He's got nothing to lose. He's got to try and do something.
I just hope to God he goes for intermediate tyres again. If he goes for options or slicks, race over for him. If he goes for wets, it'd just be a case of, is it wet enough? So what tyre is it going to be? It's another set of intermediates. Now this brand new set of inters will be faster. I think Paul's pitted as well.
Because Connor's into 1st place.
Paul is in the pits, and so are the Ferrari garage ready. So Paul's gone intermediates. He's had to wait for Richie. Is Rickster followed him? Yes. Okay, Connor looks like he may be struggling a little bit for grip now, but this is where it'll be interesting to see how much of a gap Paul and Richie can pull on these two now.
And out of the two, you would have to say that it would be Paul that would make the most on it, because he looks like he's the one that's got more of the wet setup. Obviously, they're both going to have an advantage now, being on the newer tyres, but how long can Connor and Rickster go?
Well, looking at how tricky it appears to be for Connor to drive this car at the moment, I think the tyres are pretty much really had it at this moment in time. I mean, we're definitely still in intermediate condition territory. But for Connor, I mean, he's got to pit this lap. The problem is, sorry, go on, Ray.
Did Paul lose time on that pit? Because it looked as if he had to wait for the Ferrari to get into his pit stop.
He did have to wait a moment. I don't think he would have lost too much time. I just want to see if Connor is going to dive it into the pit lane. He really should, and so should Rickster behind him. But the thing is, I mean, if it does continue to rain, they pit now, it's continuing on.
For another lap. Now Rickster has gone for the pit lane.
Okay, so Rickster is in the pits, but he's had a dodgy pit entry and he's gone into the gravel. Okay, so where is Paul? Paul is at the hairpin with 2 Ferraris right behind him. So I don't know if Paul did lose any time in the pit lane, but Richie's all over the back of him now. I'm wondering if DRS is activated yet.
Something's happened to WTJ Bullock. I don't know what it is.
Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. I would go and have a look right now, but we potentially have a move going on for the lead. I don't think Richie can get it done yet.
He's got a puncture, that's what it is. WTJ Bullock has got a puncture.
He has got a puncture, so he's definitely going to be finding himself into the pits. It's at least the second or third race in a row that he's had a puncture. Now, that could be down to too much temperature through those tyres and perhaps locking them up a little bit too much. I don't know if he's got ABS on or not, but either way, he's got a puncture. Okay, so Paul currently sat in third place with, let's see who is ahead, Charlie and Connor. Is Connor going to be heading for the pit lane? I've got a feeling Connor is going to try and get to lap 14, because what could potentially happen here is that for those drivers that have already pitted on, say, lap 10, they're going to have to pit again. Their tyres won't make it till the end.
Correct.
But then they're either going to have to go on inters or hope that it's dry at that point. For someone like Connor, if he can get to lap 14, he won't have to pit again, but could potentially be a bit slower. Okay, Charlie currently riding in second place, but he's got Paul in third, not far behind him.
Connor in the pits.
Okay, Connor is into the pits then. Should we ride on board with Connor, or should we ride on board with Paul? I think we ride on board with Connor. Let's see what he does for tyres. So it's another set of inters, but I don't think he'll make it to the end of the race on these inters. He must be hoping that it's going to potentially dry up. But if it is going to dry up, why didn't he pit 3-4 laps ago? Because look at the amount of time that he has lost here. Now Rickster hasn't really gained on Connor here, but the gap the front two have now created is huge, and this was the benefit of the brand new intermediate compared to worn intermediates for 3 or 4 laps.
So could Connor, or should have Connor, kept going for a few more laps hoping for the dry? Could he have taken that gamble, or has he now had to do what is kind of like a happy medium and pit anyway?
I'm wondering whether perhaps he was going to try and go halfway.
The sky is getting lighter.
And then realised he wasn't going to make it. But whenever it's wet, it's a tricky one to call. Paul sideways! Nearly lost it then with Richie all over the back of him, but Richie's gone wide.
And wide again.
Now I heard Ray's microphone click on, so what have you got for us, Ray?
Well, if it starts to dry up, it should be about lap 24.
Oh, is Ray saying if it's going to dry up, it could be around lap 24?
I thought it might. Personally, to me, it looks like it might get drier before that point, but
yeah,
I'm usually wrong.
Rick's
calculation. Rich, who?
Rickster has just got past Connor, but Connor's fighting back, but it's not giving me a view. Big lock up from Rickster, and Connor gets his third place back, but a big wiggle means he might lose it into the final corner. Now I did see that Connor was struggling for grip on his outlap. I mean, it's not on my screen here, but it was on another screen. So he's taking a lap to get his temperature up. A razor in the background! He's in the wall!
He's going again.
I think he's lost his wing. He has. He's going to have a tricky lap back to the pits.
That's a long way around without a front wing.
It is a long way around. Now, this is where a Razor's going to have to be a situation of
Dom, help me.
I don't know what I'm doing. Sorry, while I get back to my train of thought. Oh, Connor was close to the back of Rickster there. A Razor's got a big decision to make now. This could potentially be a position-losing situation for him. The track could dry up soon, it might not.
Do you gamble?
That's exactly what I'm thinking. Do you gamble and whack a set of option or prime tyres on? You can't put the options on, they won't make it to the end of the race.
No.
If you put a set of primes on, they'll make it to the end of the race, but it's wet. You might not make it.
I think it's got to be too soon.
Yeah, I think the only logical thing he can do is to pit and put another set of intermediate tyres on, take that hit, or second hit, because one of them was into the wall.
Yeah.
Take that hit and see how well you can come back. Right, okay, Connor into fourth then, attacking Rickster, and DRS is now active, which does mean that it is drying up, but it's nowhere near dry enough for slicks. They're close, nearly wheels interlocked, but there's going to be DRS down the start-finish, so if Rickster holds position, he'll have that advantage. Perhaps a little too much curb on corner there. But we'll see. DRS won't be open yet. We've got to wait for this line coming up. It is open now. Can he make it around the outside? Don't you dare sing it. But everyone's thinking it. He's trying around the outside. Now, there could still be more grip out there, but...
The Razor has made it back to the pits.
Okay, so a Razor is into the pits then. But Rickster and Connor are proper battling it through Sector 1 side by side. And Connor coming out the victor in this little... challenge. Now, we haven't looked at how Paul and Richie Davey are getting on for a little while, because this battle has been quite an interesting one, so let's go and have a little look.
The Razor has opted for the option, not the option,
the intermediate tyres.
Yeah.
I think it's the only thing
you can do. Yeah.
I mean, how many times do you hear people say, or like Brundle say, when it's wet, or when like you've got potentially wet conditions, the only thing you can do is be on the right tyre at the right time.
Yep.
Whether that means you pit on a lap and then pit 2 laps later, it doesn't matter. You be on the right tyre for the track condition, because if you're on the wrong one, you're stuffed.
You can lose a pit stop time in one lap if you're on the wrong time.
Oh yeah, easily. Now Richie's got good straight line speed and he's got DRS as well, but not quite gaining enough to really challenge Paul for an overtake. But if he can get a good exit out of the hairpin, which he's struggled with, he may be able to make a challenge into turn 1. Now it is interesting with DRS open now, it will have alerted the drivers that the track will be drying up. I've got a feeling it's going to be dry or ready for dry tyres around about lap 20. Richie's gone for a move, but he's gone deep, and Paul keeps his position. It's the one time you don't want to go deep is at a corner.
No comment.
Around the outside. Yeah, so
I've got cramp.
I wasn't expecting that. Is that your surprise for this week?
No,
it screaming in my ear hole? I've got cramp. You never hear Ant Davidson, Crofty, Brundle.
I bet they have at some point.
Although Brundle can't get cramp because he's pretty much got metal legs, hasn't he?
True.
Okay, now I'll tell you what, it looks like Connor is pulled away from Rickster and is starting, starting to catch up a little bit with first and second. Now if it does get dry in the next 4 laps, we could be on for one hell of a dry sprint race for the last 8 laps, because if it does go dry, we could see the likes of Paul struggle, Richie get faster, Connor struggle, Rickster get faster. Okay, let's have a quick look a little further down the grid. Charlie currently sitting in 4th place. I think he should be fairly pleased with that.
I don't want to...
Commentators curse him. I was about to say the same thing. Don't want to curse him, so we'll move on.
Doing well. Oh shit, sorry.
Language. Eraser. Now obviously he's lost his front wing and pitted, but we saw Jason get ahead of him. So Jason must have pitted again recently. No, he's going slow.
Has he got a puncture? Has he got an issue?
I don't know, but he's definitely going slow, unless he's had a bit of a moment and has had to let someone through. It doesn't look like he's got damage. Go on, Ray.
Overtime. Oh, Dom says Jason has slips.
Oh, no, he doesn't. Jason is on the intermediate tyre.
And if Dom was asking, we're not allowed to give him that information.
Yeah, no, he was saying he was saying that Dom says he's on slicks. He's not. He's on the intermediate tyre. It's just the Toro Rosso has got yellow wheel rims, so it looks like he's on options, but he's on the inters. But my bad has jumped up into 7th place now.
Who do you think's going to be the first driver that's going to gamble though? Oh, we've got a driver that's on them. It's Jim.
Jim's gone on to the option tyres. Is that too soon? Well, looking at how his traction is, maybe not.
The position is in.
Oh, he's struggling. He's struggling.
The position is in. It's worth a gamble. I was questioning whether Jim could do it in the wet or not, and he may be the driver that's made the first good call.
Azamor is on the prime tyre, so he has also taken a gamble. Who's the car ahead? That's Jason. That's why Jason's going slow then.
Because the inters are going off.
The inters are going off. Now, it's possible that Jason has gone long on this set of intermediate tyres. Now, I reckon it ain't going to be long until we see a Razor diving into the pit lane for a set of slick tyres. That is one advantage of having somebody watching the live stream, giving you a bit of information. Okay, WTJ Bullock still running on the intermediate tyres.
Paul's not pitted, but Rich Davey has.
So Richie Davey into the pits, and he's done a Hamilton. Not what he would have wanted to do, but what time he may lose there. He may gain on the outlaps if he goes for slick tyres.
Now, 10 laps to go. What tyres for 10 laps?
Primes.
Primes it is.
It is prime tyres is chosen.
Will Paul try and squeeze it a couple more laps out and go options to be faster?
Possibly. With 10 laps to go, your best bet is to go for the prime tyre. They will do those 10 laps quite comfortably, whereas options will tend to... There's more of a chance of you burning them out. Okay, so Rickster sat in 2nd place now. That means that Connor must have pitted. He has, and he's all sideways. He's come out the pits on another set of intermediate tyres.
Oh dear.
I think he's about to find out that that was the wrong decision.
I don't think he may have wanted to have done that.
No. Although he may not have been in a situation where he was getting access to DRS, but as soon as that DRS message came up, that's your sign of the track is getting drier. Now, on board with Rickster, he will have seen that Connor has pitted. He'll have seen that Richie Davey will have pitted. So I think Rickster will be pitting here. But I think he needs to make sure that he puts on the slick tyre. Okay, I want to quickly see how Jim's doing, because he's running the options. I don't think his options will last to the end, but he's not really struggling with grip at the moment. So
we've now got Paul in the pit.
Okay, so Paul is in the pit lane. And what tyre is he going to go for? I think he's going to put the prime tyre on, because he was quick on the prime tyre in the practice last week. No, it's options. So Paul's going for the option tyres for the extra speed. Has Richie Davey jumped him through the pit stops though? Rickster is also in the pit lane. I think he'll be putting the options on as well.
He has got options.
He has, okay, so it's option against
Rich
primes.
Davey coming down there, start finish straight now.
And Paul is going to keep the lead by about 2 or 3 seconds, but... Oh no, it's less than 2 or 3 seconds, but Richie Davies' tyres are up to temperature, and he's had a lap or two in these conditions on the slick tyre. Although he's very sideways there, though. Now, this is where, if Paul is running a full wet setup, he could struggle. But he has got the benefit of the option tyre. Okay, Rickster is on the options. Charlie's now up to 4th, but he's still running intermediates. Go on, Ray.
Tony's going for options from the team radio, I could hear.
Tony in the pit lane then, about to go for the option tyres.
Yep.
It's a shame that he had that crash. If he hadn't have had that crash, he could have got himself right back into the battle for the lead. But he's now going to come out in 9th place.
Hasn't pitted, and he's still going round on the intermediates.
He is going round on the intermediates still. Perhaps he feels that it's just not dry enough for dry tyres yet, but it's one of those situations...
We're right in that crossover point.
Yeah, I mean, on previous games, you would have had a look in your rear view. Have I got spray coming off my tyres? Yes, right, I'll stay on the intermediates. But I don't think it's quite the same here. If you can stay...
There's raindrops.
There is raindrops. There's a lot of raindrops there.
There's a lot of raindrops on that screen we just saw. So if it started to rain again... The guys that are on the intermediates now could well benefit. Everyone may have to pit again.
Now, that would really throw a spanner in the works. What I was going to say was, in these sort of tricky conditions, if the racing line is dry enough and you can stay on it, on a set of dry tyres, you'll be okay. The problem is, if it does get a little too wet, then you are going to struggle. Now, it does look like Jason's perhaps hunting a bit of water here, and it is advisable to do that if you're on intermediates in drying conditions. Go and find damp parts of the circuit. Okay, Azamor on the prime tyre, a little bit behind Jason. Now, Jason was actually, or should I say, Azamor was closer to Jason a lap or two ago. But I tell you what, it does look like it started to rain again. There's definitely more raindrops on the screen here.
It's getting much darker.
And it is getting darker. I'm wondering whether Jason perhaps was getting the message saying it's going to rain again and thought, I'm going to gamble it. It may not have paid off for him at that time.
Just seeing Rich Davies sideways, absolutely completely sideways. He's starting to struggle in these conditions.
Okay, the gap between Paul and Richie has grown. Richie is struggling. I would say it definitely is starting to rain heavier. It's one of those situations, though. We said it. Oh, we've lost Adam 4600. We said it. You've got to be on the right tyre at the right time. And at the time that these guys pitted for the dry tyre, it was the right tyre to be on. The problem is, it started raining again. Now, we weren't to know that. We don't get the messages. The drivers get messages from their pit walls about what the track conditions are like, what the weather conditions are like, but it's definitely getting a bit greyer and a bit greyer. Rixty? Who's Rixty?
I don't know. But can I just say, Connor, we thought he'd made the wrong decision going on to the intermediate tyres. It's now starting to look like a very good decision.
That could depend how far behind the leading three he is.
Not too far. I haven't got the time on my screen.
Now, if they all have to pit and he doesn't, then he may take over the lead, but they would be on brand new intermediate tyres and would be so much faster, because he's been on this set of intermediate tyres since lap 13.
No, because he went in... It was later than... I'm sure it was later than 13.
No, yes, he did. He pitted twice, didn't he?
One of the, yeah.
I'm fairly sure. Have a look at the race director and just confirm that. I'm fairly sure. I think he may have actually pitted twice. But it could have turned out to be a good call for him. Charlie, though, last I saw of him, he was on the intermediates. He's now gone to the primes, but it could be too late.
Connor has pitted twice.
Okay, yeah, he has. And he has done the intermediates on both occasions. Okay, if we have a look now then, we've got Paul in the lead on option tyres, Richie Davey in second on primes, Rickster in third on option tyres, Connor in fourth on intermediates, Charlie in fifth on primes, Mybad in sixth on options, Jason on in seventh on intermediates, Azamort in eighth on primes, a Razor in ninth on options, and WTJ Bullock in 10th on options. Let's go and have a look at how Jason's getting on, because he's got a Azamor and a Razor all over the back of him now. So maybe his intermediate tyres aren't helping him at this moment.
Inside information, the engineer's saying it's still drying.
Oh, the engineer apparently saying it's still drying, but looking at the conditions, I'm not so sure.
I wonder if we're one of those situations where we've got half the circuit dry and half the circuit wet.
It is possible. Now, a Bernie, yeah. Let's put a few sprinklers out.
Connor, in the pit.
Okay, Connor's into the pit lane then, but we've just seen Jason lose 2 positions. So what is Connor going to go for?
Options.
Option tyres, 6 laps. He's going to lose a few places. But what can he do on those last 6 laps?
If it's dry enough, It could be the fastest car on the circuit because he'll have the freshest tyres.
We've got a Williams in the pits. I think that's my bad. It is.
Yeah.
We saw him on options earlier on. He was the first to go for the options. They must have been going off for him. He's now going to lose 2 places to Azza and Eraser. And also another one to Jason by the looks of it, who's going to stick it out with those intermediate tyres. Okay, Connor. Now the option tyres is down to 5th place.
I've got my times back, sorry. I'll just say this. At the moment, Rich Davey is 4.7 seconds off the leader. So we'll keep an eye on that gap.
Okay, so in 3rd place then we've got Rickster, who's right behind Richie Davey now. So Rickster's challenging. I think Rickster is on the option tyres.
Yes.
Rich is on the on the primes. They've just had to get past WTJ Bullock, I think it is, who's in a blue flag situation. When cars catch him up. So is Rickster going to be able to go for a move? Not quite. Now it's interesting, down the start finish, Rickster's close, he's right up his gearbox. I was about to say, down the start finish it doesn't look too wet, and there is a nice dry line around 1 and 2, but around the rest of the track it did look like it was getting a bit wetter. But we can only see what we see on the camera, and they do say that sometimes what you see either is worse or it's not the same as what the driver experiences. Okay, so at this moment in time it looks like Paul's running away with the lead here. Rickster's got a damn good chance of stealing 2nd place. I don't think he's perhaps got enough laps to go and catch Paul up unless he can get past Richie Davey fairly damn quick. We've then got Charlie back up to 4th place, who's now running on the slick tyres as well, and Connor in 5th. It'll be interesting to have a look at how close those two are soon, but I just want to see if Rickster can get ahead of Richie. He's got a much better line through the long right-hander, the tricky off, or the... Oh, Steve! Oh, I can't believe you just showed me that. Oh, that was like looking at a pancake. And Rickster's just made a beautiful move. Oh, I think I'm going to be sick, man. Steve's just done his... Look at what I found on the internet, and it was disgusting. Okay, Rickster tried the move, ended up going wide. I really don't fancy pizza tonight. Okay, Rich is now going to get the DRS potentially, so I think he's going to end up back ahead of Rickster. Neither of them using DR. Richie popped it open at the last moment. Perhaps he didn't realise he'd got it. Rickster's ran wide. A little bit of contact, and Richie gets back through. These two do not want to give up this position at all.
Where are they?
There they are. Rickster's sideways, but Richie seems to have disappeared a bit. He's dropped behind. I think he must have had a moment on the exit of the corner, but a big lock up by Rickster there. Okay, while they continue to battle out, how far behind is Connor from Charlie? He can't see him. He can't see him. Where's Charlie's round turn 1? Now Charlie's got 4 laps to keep this going in the right direction. Oh, and he nearly didn't there, so we'll go and have a look at how close Eraser is. He's not close to Connor at the moment. Been a tricky day for him. Better start contemplating potential drivers of the day, which we will confirm on the final lap of the race. Paul's now pulled out, I think, a bigger lead with... Come on, give me the broadcast view. Okay, that is the broadcast view.
The lead he's got
yeah,
now.
so he's gained another 3 seconds, but obviously Rickster and Richie Davey have been battling, which has helped Paul out. Richie's closing up quick in the braking zone, but not quick enough. He'll have DRS again down the start finish, but will he be able to do anything about it? Oh, big lock-up. He's really pushing it. Richie's wide. He's sideways. He's nearly off the track. That sign says DRS for Richie. He nearly said doctors.
Blue flagged car, they're going past there.
Yeah, it does look like that could be Jason, who I think may still be running.
We've just had contact between My Bad and somebody.
Oh, sounds like we've had a bit of action going on somewhere. My Bad is all on his own, other than having Jason behind him, but he's miles behind. I'm wondering if it was Azza more. I think Azza may have pitted again for prime tyres. I could be wrong, but why would you pit and put primes on at this point? If you had to pit again, you'd put options on. Well, I'm just thinking that Jim is not far behind him, so if there was contact there, maybe it was between these two. But we saw Azamor. I'm sure Azamor was much further up the road. But anyway, my bad now, fighting back. I think he's probably done an extra stop compared to most. Azamor's in the pits.
Really?
Yeah, Azamor is in the pits. I'm wondering if he's been on the prime tyres and they're knackered, so now he's got to pit.
The pit crew are out, so it's not a drive-through.
It's got to be option tyres here. It's an interesting one to be pitting this late. It is the option tyres going on.
It's not him thinking that he's got to use both sets, surely.
I hope not.
Because now he's used 3 sets.
Yeah, but he's going to come out in 8th place. No one around him. Chance of getting a few decent laps in. If it had been a drive-through penalty, he wouldn't have been changing his tyres at all there. Rickster's pulling away from Richie, and Richie's got a Red Bull catching him. So Connor, it's not Connor.
Not Connor.
Oh, it's a blue flag car.
It's a blue flag car.
Oh, okay. So Richie is quite safe at the moment from Charlie.
But
I tell you what,
is catching Charlie.
he is, yeah. And Charlie's primes are looking knackered. Now, the gap between these two was about the length of the start-finish. But if Charlie's primes are going off, that could explain why Azamor pitted. Because if his were going off.
If the primes are going off, we've got Paul in the lead on options.
He's probably done less laps on them, though.
I'm not saying he was the first in the pits, but he was one of the first to go onto the options.
Mm.
He put options on when all the drivers were putting primes on.
That is true, but those that put primes on did tend to pit a lap before him.
But it's only 1 lap.
True. But it could be one of those situations where
Paul is struggling. Paul is starting to struggle.
Just seen Charlie have a big moment sideways. I think he's going to be a sitting duck. He's going to be a sitting quack.
A quack quack.
Quack quack.
Rickster is starting to close the gap on Paul, but Rickster is also on the options, and they're both about the same length, tyre length. Pitted about the same time.
The thing is, I was about to say that perhaps with the prime tyres, the temperatures are too low to get them up to a decent temperature to make them last.
Possibly.
Which could be right, considering that all of the drivers that have put the prime tyres on have started to struggle around the same time. Charlie, Azamor, Richie, all on primes, all struggling. All those that have been on the options. Oh, Charlie's wide, Connor's through, and I think he'll get DRS assist as well, even though he doesn't need it. Charlie's not giving up the fight though, but Charlie's primes, they do look knackered. Who's got DRS? That Red Bull has. He's only just opened it now though. Perhaps he didn't realise that he'd got it. Charlie's going for it.
Oh, he's making it stick.
He's got through.
What a move.
Someone's driving for him.
Yeah, that's not Charlie.
Yeah, that's not Charlie.
He must have JB there today with him.
Yeah. I bet the J doesn't stand for Jensen. It's Jessica.
Jessica Button.
Jessica Button.
So
but anyway,
WC then?
Up into turn 1.
Jessica Button in the WC.
I'm not going to answer that because it's just filthy wood.
Yeah.
Completely off yourself. I actually began with a C, but anyway. Okay, so these two still battling. That was a fantastic move by Charlie, though, into the hairpin.
Was it Charlie?
It must have been. But to be fair, it takes 2 to tango, and it took for Connor to see that move was happening and give him the room. Okay. So these two are proper going at it. At every point throughout this race, we've had sort of a fight going on somewhere. Oh, big locks.
We've got Paul just starting the last lap.
Okay, Paul starting the final lap. Richie Davies in 3rd, got a blue flag car ahead of him. Rickster should be quite comfortable there. Okay then. So as we ride on board with Paul for the final lap, you may want to keep an eye on Connor and Charlie. Driver of the day.
Paul, it's got to be for me. He messed up in qualifying. But what a first lap. Or did he? He may have just gone with the correct setup at the wrong time, or he didn't go out early enough for my liking, but qualifying's the day before, we're on about the race day.
That is true.
And for me, to go from where he was on the grid to where he is now, and pitted at the right times. Unless he has a major incident now.
You know what? There's only one person at the moment I could give driver of the day to, and that is Paul. For the simple fact of that first lap. The only thing I'm worried about is if, for example, we finish this and we find out he crashed me, he did this, he did. I just hope that first lap from Paul was just a phenomenal lap, because
I'd love to see his own footage of it.
Yeah, that is true. So would I, because I mean it is a Senna-esque style opening lap to a wet race, to go from pretty much the back of the grid to first in one lap and then lead the rest of the race. I don't think you can argue with that.
In those kind of conditions.
In those conditions. Now, obviously, if there was something dodgy, we'd take that drive of the day back. But I hope there isn't, and I don't think there would have been. So for me, Paul gets driver of the day, and I think he's shown as well. It's going to take some beating to take this title off him this season.
And I did say right at the start of the season,
Paul's your pick. And he's taken victory here in China in tricky conditions. Richter is going to take second place. That's Jason taking a position further down. And you can see just how much Richie's struggling there, although he's putting a bit of a show on for the fans. Connor is up to fourth place, so he has stolen the position off Charlie. Is Charlie close enough to have an attack of any kind? I don't think he is. And it's not really. He is nowhere near him. He must have had perhaps a bit of a moment, or his tyres have really gone off. So at the moment, Connor's going to come in to take fourth place. I think he'll be upbeat, but also think he could have done more out of that race. Charlie, I think, should be fairly pleased with fifth position here. Eraser is going to be absolutely gutted.
I've just heard that My Bad has got a penalty.
Oh, My Bad has a penalty.
For hitting somebody.
That could be what you commented on earlier about it does sound like there's been contact between Jim and someone else. So Eraser then will come in to take sixth place. Was lucky not to write the car off when he lost his wing, but sixth place it'll be. My Bad at the moment. I think it's probably been a very difficult one for him. First real wet race for him. Azamor in 8th place. We saw him do a late pit stop, but I don't know if it was Azamor that Jim may have had contact with. That could perhaps explain an additional pit stop as well. Yeah. So 8 for Azamor, and I think we've got WTJ and Jason further down the grid. We'll get those confirmed in a moment. But there we see Paul taking the top step of the podium again, joined by Richter and Richie Davey. I was still impressed with Paul's first lap there. Yeah. And I think a lot of drivers in this race are going to want to see his footage of his first lap, because, I mean, how do you go from the back of the grid to the front in one lap unless it was wet setup?
And your name's Ayrton Senna.
Well, his name ain't Ayrton Senna, but anyway. So there we have it. And this is the provisional result. So Paul in first, Richter second, Richie Davey third, but looked like he had a couple of penalties. Connor in fourth, Charlie fifth, Eraser sixth, Jim in seventh, did get a penalty. Azamor eighth, Jason ninth, WTJ Bullock in 10th, and Adam 4600 did not make it to the end. Did we lose anybody else? I haven't looked at the race director. Oh, there's quite a few things on there. I'm not sure, but as we get ready now for the podium interviews, if you would like to send an invite to Paul, an invite to Richter, and an invite to Richie Davey, we will have to tell them not to swear and to make sure that they have got their settings so that their audio is shared with us.
Just sent the invites out.
That was that was a very interesting race. It was very tricky conditions for all of the drivers there. Okay, so Rich has joined us in the chat party, and so has Richter. Just remind you both that you are live on air. Please do not swear, and also can you please check your chat party settings to make sure that you have got your microphone to share for us, please. And as we wait for Paul to join us, that is if he's not drowning himself in champagne at the moment. But one thing I will say is, if Richter says hello, I think it'll be the first time I've ever heard him speak.
Yeah, I don't think I've heard him before.
Oh, I've heard him say hello.
Oh, he's got a microphone.
You sounded like that Battlefield Friends, but promoted. He's got a microphone.
Mom, can I have some sandwiches?
So anyway,
Come on, Paul.
if you haven't actually watched Battlefield Friends on YouTube, you should, because it is hilarious. If you like Battlefield, Call of Duty, anything like that, you really should watch them. They're all brilliant. So anyway, Rickster, nice to finally speak to you. There's a part of the video that I think you're really, really going to like. Oh yeah. There's a nice little story about you.
Oh, was it him? Was it?
It was him. Yeah, it was him. Okay, so while we wait for Paul to join us on the podium interviews, I don't know what he's doing at this moment in time, we shall fire some questions at our second place finisher, Rickster. So, Ricky, how did qualifying go for you? Because initially on your first lap, you were up in Sector 1, just down in Sector 2, and Sector 3 just disappeared.
I actually don't have a clue what happened.
Yeah.
Well, that's an honest answer, I suppose. I mean, from what we could see is it started getting a bit wet, and when you got to that Sector 3, you were the sort of first to hit it. So
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just wasn't on the pace all weekend really, apart from the dry stint in the race. I mean, that's it.
out of curiosity, did you actually see what the weather was going to be like before you went out in qualifying, and did you go with a setup for the condition?
No, I just went with my dry setup and hoping it would be dry earlier on in the race. But yeah.
Well, in that case, we were pretty good with our guesses, and you did well to keep it facing the right direction, which takes us on then to Richie Davey, because we had a similar thought about yourself, whether you did actually see what the weather condition was going to be like, and if you were also running a dry setup there.
No, you know, I just went out as normal.
Just went
That was a cut. F it moment. Go anyway.
Yeah. Well, you can't argue with that. So, how did you feel then once that race got going and at the end of the first lap, Paul appeared out of nowhere?
Oh, fuck me, I didn't wait a second. Oh, sorry.
Try not to swear. It's alright, we'll let you off. We can understand that one.
Oh, what's going on here, man? How's he in second already?
Yeah.
I just got on with it and then it all went tits up, man.
Yeah. It looked like you had a fairly decent battle throughout the race with him. And then right at the end, I mean, it was difficult for us while doing commentary. It looked like it was drying up, it was ready for the dry tyres, and a few drivers went for those tyres. And then within like 3 or 4 laps, it almost looked like it was getting wet again. Did it go from wet, dry, wet a bit, and then dry, or did it just keep drying up throughout?
No, it just kept drying.
Oh, that's not too bad then. Yeah. Well, we were trying to work out. Obviously, yourself and I think Rickster went option. It did look like the option tyre were the stronger tyre at the end. They lasted a bit longer. I mean, coming back to you, Rickster, when you put your tyres on, did you think you'd pick the right ones at the end?
Yeah, definitely. When I put the options on, I knew it was the fastest tyre I could be on. So
It did seem like the options were lasting better than the primes. The primes do look like they went off soon.
Yeah.
I was actually expecting a couple laps from the end of the race for Richie to come back at me because he had the primes on, I think. He had the primes on?
He did. So, Richie, why didn't you attack him back for the last couple of laps?
Oh, I went a couple of times, man.
It did look like you was trying, but it did look like those tyres came off.
Can I just
No, do you know what it was though?
Go on.
When it was drying out and that, I thought it was about 14 laps, and I thought I'm going to pit in a minute, so I changed it to prime, and then I forgot.
Okay, you got a question, Steve? Go ahead.
No, just that we noticed on the race director, Rich Davey got a penalty, but we have no idea.
Oh
what it's
yeah,
for.
that's true. Yeah.
Do you know when Rich overtook me and I went wide off that corner before I went straight?
Yes.
You give me a penalty for that?
Oh.
And I let him through, like, I thought was going on here.
Oh, right, okay.
Well, it didn't change anything.
No, it didn't affect the result there. Okay. No problem. Right, okay, so that's our second and third place podium sitters, which we will say thank you very much to. And what me and you are going to have to do now, Steve, is I'm going to have to be the commentator and you're going to have to pretend to be Paul.
Do we really have to do that? Can we not just make up a story that he's drowned his sorrows from last week and it's now just hung over?
Maybe he just doesn't want to get questioned. He knows the question is coming. How did you get to first on that first lap?
I was taken back when he went past me.
I'm not surprised, Rick.
We compared it to Ayrton Senna.
Yeah. It was along those lines of Ayrton Senna at Donington Park. I mean, we kind of figured that both you two had gone for the dry, lower downforce setup, and we kind of guessed that Paul either made a mistake in qualifying by waiting and not going out, or he went with a wetter setup. And if he went for a wetter setup, that was what did it for him. But anyway, right, I think we'll bring this live stream to an end now, seeing as Paul is obviously... he ain't drowning his sorrows. What he's doing is he's got that bottle of champagne, he's got one of them podium girls and says, right, love, come with me. He's doing that. I've got a story to tell you. Right, okay, gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. To the viewers, thank you very much. This live stream is going to come to an end in a moment. Next Wednesday on Front Row Racing's Twitch channel will be the World Championship Round 4 at Bahrain. On Thursday will be the World Series Round 4 at Bahrain, and we do have the FRR-IDAYS on Friday as well, all of which are at 7:30 PM on the Front Row Racing Twitch channel. Videos will also go onto the Front Row Racing YouTube. Anyway, from myself, Front Row Racing DP, otherwise known as Dave Lazinbeds, and my co-commentator,
me, Front Row Racing GP, also known as Steve Sherbert.
You know, Ray just pops in with the Stefani. You know, the viewers are going to be too young to know what that's all about. Stefani. Anyway, okay, thank you very much for watching. We've been Front Row Racing, and we shall see you again next week.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have now caught up with Paul, the race winner. Had to shoot off afterwards, so we're going to stick this in the video. I think there's only really one question that both of those commentators want to ask you is, two questions actually. What happened in qualifying, and what happened on that first lap?
First qualifying. What happened in qualifying?
What happened in qualifying? Nothing. I took ages to go out and caught the rain, and that was it.
Was there any sort of thinking behind that, or was it just you were just waiting to see if it was going to get drier, or?
No, just waiting to see if the track. Oh yeah, wait for the track to clear, and I thought, fuck it, too late. Might as well just piss about.
Fair enough. So, did you go for a wet setup then? Because that first lap was untouchable for everyone else. No.
Your car seemed to have so much more grip and control in the worst conditions than anybody else's. So I'm
just too good. I'm just too good in the wet.
You see, now I was about to say on his behalf, well, that's what happens when you're a good driver.
All right.
Maybe a sandwich. Obviously, that's not Arnold Schwarzenegger shouting at him. So after that first lap, then you find yourself in first place. What's your thinking then? Is it? Oh, I've got this in the bag easy.
No, just relax.
Yeah.
You can't argue with that because usually when you relax, you go quicker.
At what point did you realise that you were going to need to put dry tyres on?
When it was dry.
No, I was going to say, did it worry you what the other drivers were doing?
I reckon from lap 16 I was thinking about it, and I thought, actually you'd better not. So I thought, let's do it at lap 18 or 19, and then right decision.
Do you think that it was the right decision going on to the options, or because quite a few of the other drivers went prime?
Yeah, I know. Good know, wasn't it? My tyres were FUCK'd at the end of the end of the race. So.
Well, they were, but all of those that went on primes, their tyres were even worse.
They struggled to get them up to temperature. That's why it came across to us.
Yeah.
It struggled that couldn't get them up to working temperature, but also they seemed to go off quicker than the options did.
That is true. Okay, well, I think we'll bring this interview to an end in a moment. The only thing I've got to say is well done, Paul, on that victory. It's a fantastic first lap. And to be honest...
I've just got to watch it back now, haven't I?
Say again?
So I've just got to watch it back now.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, definitely, definitely. And I tell you what, that first lap has, I think, sent shockwaves through the World Series, because a lot of drivers that they think they're quick enough to take that title, and you've just sort of said to them, no, you ain't. Not unless, if you want to win it, you got to beat me. And I think that's a great position to be in. So, anyway,
right.
well done, Paul. Thank you for joining us for this interview. And
All right,
we'll
sir.
get on to the end of the video.
All right.